Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Madry, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
And Valerie Comer.
So today we are talking about books set in South Carolina. We have split up the South of the United States into a state-by-state retelling because it's a popular place to set your books when you're writing CCR, apparently. So we're at South Carolina today, which if you're following, it's just down the East Coast of the
South
United
of North
States.
Carolina, I hear.
Right, yes, just underneath North Carolina, shockingly enough. So did you struggle, anyone, to figure out South Carolina versus North Carolina? Was that tricky? I had a hard time with it. Yeah.
And I got so frustrated because we've done, obviously we did North Carolina first, and I kept coming across North Carolina books when I didn't find them for when we were doing North Carolina.
Sure.
Like, drats, that would have been perfect for North Carolina, but I'm looking for South Carolina. Yeah. So
that happened to me with one book as well, because I didn't realize there was a Beaufort or Beaufort or whatever in both North Carolina and South Carolina. I'm like, oh, Beaufort, that'll be South Carolina, and then it wasn't.
No.
Anyway,
And they're pronounced differently. One is
probably
Beaufort.
pronounced them both wrong.
One is Beaufort and one is Beaufort, but I don't remember which is which.
There you go.
But yeah, they're not.
Also, I'm not really that familiar with that part of the US. I have visited quite a few states, but not in that area. So they kind of all just run together to me there. Sorry, people who live there. But maybe someday. I did learn something though. I learned that the word low country is South Carolina and possibly Northern Georgia. So when I started looking for low country, then I started scoring a little better.
So is low country on the eastern side of the mountains? Is that what that is?
I guess.
It's more swampy areas. They don't call them swamps. They call them
low country.
Yeah, they call it the low country. In my mind, it's the swampy coastal areas. It's the mountains are in South Carolina, really on the western side of the state.
Yeah,
almost non-existent. So I mean, they're there, but they're way far west. Most of the state is not mountain in South Carolina.
So the mountain range, if you start in North Carolina and go south, the mountain range is actually heading west away from the coast. Is it?
Well, it goes mostly up and down, but the bulk of the state just happens to be on the other side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get our geography
where
right
they drew their lines.
The continent also does a slope there.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yep. So low country, I feel like can also sometimes be, because Lee Tobin McLean has a low country series, and it's in the Chesapeake Bay, not South Carolina.
Well, she and Wikipedia should have a chat.
Yeah, it's that bay sort of feeling though. So yeah. But a low country boil is it's a seafood dish. They put all the crawfish and shrimp and potatoes and
corn and sausage.
Yep. And they boil it all up together with Old Bay seasoning, and you eat it. And then if you're me, you die of anaphylactic shock. So it's good to know.
That's really too bad because it's so good. We just
like to
call
try
it a
that one
shrimp
day.
boil or a seafood boil in the Northwest. But
I'm sure there is some specific something that makes it a low country boil in South Carolina. I lived there for 4 years, but I'm allergic to shrimp, so I was never tempted to try it because I don't like dying. So
dying, not recommended.
Right? Yeah.
No.
I'm like, I'll pass. Thanks, though.
Yeah.
But
you can only do that once, and let's wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think regionally they probably all have different, like that you can do a low country boil. They have something similar. I don't think they call it that though in Georgia. They have one in North, everybody has their boils that they do. Louisiana does them.
Yeah, we had it at a waterfront restaurant in Seattle.
Okay.
They just rolled out the brown paper down the middle of the table and
Yes.
dumped the food
Yep.
right on the paper, gave
Yeah.
everybody a big bib, and we dug in.
Have fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to skunk me with seafood, but we could not eat it all.
Yeah.
I was just, yeah.
Wow.
And then
I
also
tried. Trust me, I tried.
in South Carolina and in Georgia, they'll do pig pickings where they cook a whole pig, barbecue it like in the earth, sort of almost nods to sort of the way you see them done for like luau's in Hawaii, but not
Yeah,
with
I've
not
been
with
to one of
luau
those.
seasonings. But then like pig picking, they just have this pig carcass and you go pick your pig. I'll eat those though because pig is delicious.
Yes,
So
it is.
not
Yes.
Anyways,
allergic
I
to
wonder
pig.
if there's any pig pickings in any of our books, huh?
Not
get
in
to
mine.
No.
Sadly, no. That
No.
would have been really nice.
If anyone knows a pig picking book that
Yeah.
has a delicious thing that will make us drool, then add it to the comments in YouTube.
Absolutely.
Or a low
But you-
country boil.
Yeah, either one.
Yeah.
But you have to say pig pickin', Narelle. You can't put the G on it because it's
Why do
southern.
I-
You can't
Oh,
call it a
pig-
picking. That's entirely
Pickin'.
too pickin'. There's an
Pig
apostrophe at
pickin'.
the end. Pickin',
Pig picking.
pickin'.
Is that
There you go.
right?
Yes.
I can talk Southern for like
You
two,
can speak
two
southern
words.
now. You're perfect. Excellent. No one would ever know that you're not from around there. No, the
I'm
four
certain
years,
I would stand out. All I'd have to do is open my mouth and be like, "Oh, who's that? That's not someone that
the
belongs
4
here."
years I lived in South Carolina, the most common thing people asked me was, "You're not from around here, are you?" I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So, but it was fun. So anyway, that's probably way too much information. We should just talk about books.
We should.
Narelle, you want to go first?
I will. So I'm going to talk about a book that I spoke about in previous episodes. So I'm not going to go too much into the story. And that is Roadtrip to Redemption by Laurie Larsen. So this is book one in her Pawleys Island series. And I was very happy to know that Pawleys Island is actually a real place you can look up on the map. It's
And
not a
is in
fictional
South
place.
Carolina.
Yes, South Carolina. So it ticked all these boxes. So it's a beach romance. It's also a mature characters romance. So if you go to our episode 30 on beach romances, I talked about it there. I also talked about it in episode 29 on mature character romances. So to go
You
find
go,
more about the
Narelle.
story.
Look at
is
you all
there.
organized.
Right?
Yes. So Leslie does a road. She's a teacher. Her marriage is just split up. And they're basically packing up the house, and her daughter's overseas in France for the summer, and she's at a loose end. So she decides to go on a road trip to Pawleys Island to see this. I'm thinking it's Old Grey Barn, but I didn't write it down. There's this house she used to stay at when she was a child, has really good childhood memories of beach vacations there. So she wants to see if it still exists, if it survived the hurricanes, et cetera, et cetera. And she lands at an inn in Pawleys Island, and the father of the owner of the inn is Hank, and he's the hero in the book. So it is such a lovely, fun romance, and it really is very beachy, very South Carolina. You travel through a number of states and get quite a good feel for the setting as well. So
Yes.
you'll probably get a bit of inland, potentially South Carolina, or maybe North Carolina. I can't remember exactly, but I really enjoyed this one, and it's a fun series if you're looking for South Carolina.
Excellent.
I enjoyed that one as well. I enjoyed the older characters, and yeah, the it's been a while since I read it because I remember enjoying the road trip part, but now, like you, I couldn't tell you where the road trip actually took her. I think it was from Pennsylvania south, but I could be wrong on that. But it was well done. Sometimes a road trip story kind of reads like a tourist brochure, and that one didn't.
Yeah.
Good.
That's what I remember.
Yeah,
That I-
this one is on my list. I have it. It's on my Kindle. I just seem to never get to it. So I need to bump it up and actually get to it. I like Laurie's books. So
Yeah,
there's no
these things
reason.
happen.
Yeah, they do.
Kindles get overflowing.
And beach reads as well. Like beach reads are typically light, fun, escapist, summer, sort of that whole sort of vibe of relaxing. Yeah. So if you're looking for something that you just want to chill and not have to think too much, then these romances are fun.
Perfect. Valerie, what you got?
My first South Carolina book is Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe. So this is your classic opposites attract story.
Fun.
You have a free-spirited woman who's the owner of a store that refurbishes and resells vintage furniture. Like she hangs chairs from the ceiling at random angles that people have to duck under them, you know, like. And the hero is an injured, sullen ex-Marine. So she believes that she's received a sign to hire him, and he's like, not on your life, you're too weird. I'm not working for you. So she's kind of over the top weird and pushy, like obnoxiously pushy in some ways. Honestly, I struggled to empathize with her at first because I can do free-spirited, but she was just like, her feet were nowhere near the ground, you know? But there is all kinds of restoration that takes place in that book, starting with the fact that a hurricane comes through. So hello, there's your beach setting, your South Carolina setting. It damages her shop. And Lincoln feels guilty for how he brushed her off. And so he doesn't have anything better to do because he's unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels guilty for how he pushed aside her job offer, and he goes in and helps her restore her building. So the progression from opposites attract and enemies to more is done pretty well. And they have a long way to go. So there's lots of increments that have to happen, and they do happen appropriately. One of the sweet motifs that I found in the story was that whenever she says she'll pray for him, she gives him a seashell. And so he has this whole basket of seashells by his door that remind him that someone's praying for him, that he's not forgotten, that he's not over just because he's been injured and stuff like that. So, and of course that plays into the closing, which I won't go into how that works out, but it was kind of fun because at the beginning you're just like, she gives like everybody a seashell, like just kind of at random, but I mean, hey, there's seashells, you're on the beach, right?
Yeah.
And so, so that was kind of fun to see that develop from something that was just like a giveaway at the beginning to actually really meaning something later on in the book. So,
is it also Grumpy Sunshine?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What is more than grumpy and what is more than sunshine?
Okay.
Like solar flare versus yeah.
Okay.
You would definitely go that one as well.
Okay, cool. It's a new to me trope, so now I'm trying to look for it when I see it.
It's new to me as well, and
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it when I was listing those. But I mean, opposites attract. That's probably often going to be a grumpy sunshine, right? Because that's one of the ways that we can be opposites from each other. Yeah. Not every opposites would be that.
No.
But it's an easy one to write into a book.
Yeah.
And make it
Cool.
very visible.
That's fun. That sounds really cool. I'm gonna have to read that one. That sounds really fun.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Cool. I will say, does she call him an ex-Marine? All the Marines I've known would have a really hard time with that because
I don't remember whether it's my interpretation or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that one. Sorry. This Canadian doesn't think that way.
It's all good. It's all good. I live near a Marine Corps base, so they would all say you're a former Marine, but there's no such thing as an ex-Marine because you're always.
I may have been shorthanding.
That's okay.
In my notes.
It's allowed.
I'm sorry,
allowed.
Marines everywhere. And former Marines everywhere.
Right, exactly. And some of them don't care. They're like, whatever. So my first book is Meet Me in Myrtle Beach by Brooke St. James.
I haven't read that.
And I had never read Brooke St. James, so I was excited when I saw Myrtle Beach because I know that that's in South Carolina. So I was like, well done, check. It was funny because it starts out in North Carolina. But then
you were like,
I was little. I'm like, wait a minute, it says Myrtle Beach. They're in Charlotte. That's in North Carolina. But So she is just finished school and college and is supposed to be applying for like a real job. Has this big interview. She's in a coffee shop killing time till this interview. Woman walks in and is surprised that she's like the only girl in the coffee shop who's not like glued to her phone. So the woman sits down talking to her and says, you know what, why don't you put it off for a little bit and come be like, I'll hire you to be sort of my aide for for the summer so that you can still have one last good summer and then you can go get a real job. And since she was not excited about this career path that she did to sort of appease her dad, she goes with it. And so stop one is this family beach house in Myrtle Beach that she accompanies this older woman to. And all of her kids and their kids and their kids are coming. So she's the woman that hires the heroine whose name I never wrote down. So
Me either.
is probably in her 70s, I would guess, because she has adult children who have grandchildren the age of this young woman. So she has grandchildren
Probably
in her
80 something then.
yeah, she has grandchildren in her early 20s. She's spry if she's in her 80s. Like she's a spry older lady. Anyway, so it's this big, massive beach house that the family owns. And this is the first indication that the girl gets that, wow, they're from a lot of money. But it's fun. I'm trying to decide if I'm giving too much away for some of the ulterior motives for why it turned out she got invited along. I won't say, but there are ulterior motives.
Probably there's a grandson who needs a wife.
There is a grandson who needs a wife.
Hello, it's a romance, so of course
right.
there would be.
But it's not the grandson that the girl falls for. So
the mystery deepens.
Mystery deepens. So it's really cute. It's if I were to pick tropes, I'm trying to think. It's almost love at first sight. It's definitely got an insta love vibe. That he's a single dad, the guy that she falls for. So it's got single dad with it. But it's really cute. Very beachy. And a fun family. It kicks off a whole series for this family. So I'm definitely going to read the rest because I really enjoyed meeting the other people in the family and would enjoy seeing them get their happy endings.
So I'm dying to know. She's sitting in the coffee shop. She's not on her phone. What is she doing?
Just eating breakfast. Looking
Is that
around.
even like that's a thing?
Yeah, apparently. People watching. Yeah, who knew? You can have an interesting morning without being on your phone. You heard it here first.
Crazy talk.
I know, it's crazy. All right, Narelle, what's your next one?
Oh, I'm really happy that Valerie spoke about the first book in T.I. Lowe's series because I'm going to talk about the third one, which is Sea Glass Castle by T.I. Lowe. And of course, I haven't read the first or the second book because why would I?
Why would you? Indeed, why would you?
Yes, I jumped in with book 3. So as I said, we're pretty much in the same beach town, and we do meet Opal and Link again, and they are absolutely adorable and cute in this book.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yes, they are. Oh, yes. I mean, I really liked Opal and Link, and also Josie is in this book as well. She's from book 2, and so we have Sophia. Did you see much of Sophia in book 1?
I read this a few weeks ago and I've read like probably 18 books since then, maybe not quite, but more than 10. Seriously, more than 10.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure how she's in the earlier books. But anyway, so Sophia's a single mum. She's got 3-year-old Colin, who she's very protective of. And Colin is an absolutely adorable 3-year-old. A lot of the humor in the story comes from this adorable 3-year-old. And her ex-husband is an NFL, I've got this right, football star.
Oh, yeah, she was in the story. I remember her.
Story. Yes. Okay. And so it's probably not spoilers to talk about the fact that their marriage broke up. They weren't married for that long, maybe only 4 years. It could even be less. and he cheated on her, and she was also a victim of domestic violence. He was physically abusive as well. None of this is actually happens in the story, so if that's a trigger for you, that shouldn't be an issue, but that is in her backstory if that's a sensitive issue. And so she's moved back to her hometown because that's where her best friends are. It's also where her parents are. And she's just really struggling with the fact that her marriage has fallen apart so publicly. So she walks around wearing dark glasses, hides under a hat. She's really just trying to be invisible, and she's holding on to this baby who the father is just not involved in his life particularly much at all. And it's really quite sad. So she starts off from that sort of place. Then we have Wes, and he's new to town. He's from Alabama. And he also has a very tragic backstory. His wife was pregnant, eight months pregnant with their first child, and tragically passed away in an accident. It was awful. So he's just grief-stricken and just really broken. And the pediatrician in town is someone he has known professionally, and he's retiring, and says, Wes, you know what? You're going to come up here to South Carolina and have a fresh start and take over my pediatrician business as well and become the new doctor. So the meet cute in this is, they just hate each other. It's awful. And it's really Sophia's fault. And it's all her neuroses and her neurotic issues are just front and center. And you sort of can understand why Wes is like, oh my goodness, this woman is just too much. Yes, but there's still the sparks and the attraction are there. And he lives next door to Opal. So the beach house you see in the book Valerie talked about, we visit in this book. And as I said, he's the next door neighbor. And of course, Opal has matchmaking ideas, as you can imagine as well.
Of course she does.
Yeah,
Go
so they end
Opal.
up getting thrown together, and the little boy Colin, who's just looking for daddy, just absolutely adores Wes. But they have a whole lot of baggage that then has to get unpacked for them to actually get to a place where a relationship's even on the radar as being possible. And it's one of those stories about people letting in somebody else, if that makes sense. They've been very closed off because of hurt and pain and whatever. So it's that type of story. Because Sophia does something silly, she ends up creating a problem for Wes with all these single women chasing after him. So they end up fake dating to try and to stop all these women from being ridiculously aggressive in the way they're pursuing him. So that was a really fun element in the story. But I think one of the most hilarious things was potty training. I don't think I have laughed so much in a book, in a CCR, with potty training happening as well. So if you find that type of stuff cute, then you'll also laugh along. Yeah, so it had a lot of depth, but I did really enjoy it, and I would go back and read the earlier books. And I don't think, being a romance, you know that they get together. So I don't think that I would be missing too much by reading out of order, if that makes sense.
As you say.
Yeah, right. Of course you say that.
Yeah, and I think it was just the premise of this one. I think I was just interested in seeing how Sophia's character was handled, because domestic violence is something that doesn't often get brought up in CCR as well in terms of backstory. So that was probably a bit of a trigger for me. Plus, I think it might have been on sale as well when I was looking for stuff, so that also helped.
These things.
But I enjoyed
sale
it.
is good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that one. I think it's a fun series. And I think the other element I liked, and Valerie alluded to it, is that it had a faith element. It had a relevant faith element. So it wasn't a heavy faith element, but it was there and it made sense and it worked. And I appreciated that, because not all the books that you pick up that are labeled CCR have much of a faith element in it. So this one's not a Christian light. It actually has a solid faith element.
Yeah. Excellent.
With it. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Valerie, what you got next?
I have Dining with Joy by Rachel Hauk. Narelle, plug your ears, okay? This is the third book in Rachel's Low Country series, and I have not read books 1 and 2.
Yay! You come to the Narelle dark side of reading out of order. Congratulations, Valerie Comer, top of the class, gold star.
I'm firing both of you.
The premise just sounded the most interesting of the three to me. Just at a glance, I was like, me. music star. No, don't feel like a music, whatever. So
Yeah.
this book does have a problematic angle, though, that not everybody might appreciate. The heroine, whose name is Joy, is living a lie. Her father had a TV show, and it was gaining in popularity. And just before he died of a heart attack, he asked her and the producer, who was his personal friend, who was in the room, if Joy could take over his show. And so the producer agreed. Now the catch is that Joy cannot cook. Like, she would burn water. Okay, like she really can't cook. Ramen is possibly too much work for her.
My.
So, her cupboards are full of Chef Boyardee, right? So, so the producer knows she can't cook. So that's fine. She's got this bigger than life personality. She can pull it off, and nobody has noticed that while she's fumbling around in the kitchen and not actually doing the things, and then after commercial break, the food just shows up because her staff person in the back does know how to cook, in actual fact. Okay, so they bluffed through a couple of seasons this way, and it's grown in popularity. People love her and her wacky sense of humor, and I mean, she can do anything for a laugh, kind of thing, which to me is like, there's people like that, because I'm so not that way. So now at the beginning of the book, her producer meets up with her, and he has sold the show to a bigger company, to a new producer who's going to take it to, she's going to be the face of Thursday night television.
Oh, no.
And she is freaking out. Did you
Yeah.
tell the new person that I can't cook? And he said, no, just, your whole crew goes with you. Everybody there knows it's fine. She'll never need to find out. Do a season or two. And then if you think and the money was so good and her family was so poor and blah, blah, blah. And all these people are depending on her for a job. She has all these reasons for keeping the secret. But I'm kind of like, I can see where this is going, Joy, and it's not joyful.
It's not going to go well.
Yeah.
It's not going
Yeah.
well. So it's funny because we've talked a bit about Sarah Monson's book, Molly, where the main character is like so devoted to telling the truth every second that even when the truth might not even be truly asked for. And this gal is kind of like the opposite of that. Anyway, so you might wonder, where's the romance? So there's a local chef who had a big restaurant in New York City, but it went bankrupt. And now he's working for his uncle in this little coffee shop in South Carolina. And he kind of inadvertently comes to her rescue once, and there's chemistry on the set. And the producers are like, sign him on, he's the co-host now, because that'll kick it all up a notch. The viewers love him. And he doesn't know she can't cook either. But he starts to suspect, because as their personal life becomes entwined with the show, and he winds up in their home where her niece is eating pasta out of a can, and he looks for something in the cupboard, and it's like, this is not a chef's cupboard, like at all, right? We're talking ramen and the canned pasta and stuff. And he's like,
can I ask a question? What
Sure.
is canned pasta? Are we talking like soup with pasta in it?
Oh, no.
no,
you
we're
can get,
talking like spaghetti and
ravioli.
meatballs in a can.
Ravioli
Cool.
in a can. Yeah, it's like Chef
As
Boyardee
in-
is the brand. It's
It's a thing.
it's a
It's
thing.
long life? Is it
Oh,
long
yeah.
life or refrigerated?
No,
It's in a tin can.
yeah,
It'll
shelf
last
stable.
forever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I have never ever noticed that in Australia in a supermarket, and I don't think I'd look for it either. But
It's
let's
Honey,
good
continue.
you
apocalypse
haven't missed anything.
No, the kids, like my teenager loves it because he'll eat a whole can as a snack. It's like 800 calories as a snack, but you have to be able to have a teenager's palate. and
Constitution.
Just,
And
yeah,
metabolism.
you're just looking for cheap, fast calories, basically.
Okay. All right, let's continue though. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So, and Luke begins to suspect the truth, which we all would if we looked in her cupboards.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole thing of where she's denying to him, or deflecting, mostly deflecting. She's trying really hard not to lie out loud, but she's lying like through her teeth by her actions, right? So that might be a problem for some readers. It was borderline problem for me, honestly, and I can kind of go with just about anything as a premise, but this one was a little tough for that. The writing is good. The story is good. The chemistry between the characters is good. The resolution is good. Books 1 and 2 are probably also good, but I didn't read them. Yeah, Dining with Joy.
Dining with Joy.
So just, this probably isn't a spoiler question. So in terms of the lying, I'm assuming there were negative consequences that happened when the truth came out.
You would probably be assuming correctly.
Good, because that's where I would get stuck. And I have actually read books that I don't think is CCR where there has been a dishonest premise, but the characters got away with it and there hasn't been negative consequences. So I can run with pretty much anything as long as the consequences make sense for this, like, and you think, well, that's logical, that works. As long as there's something at the end that sort of pulls it together.
It does. And again, without getting spoilery, she has an arch enemy in the TV cooking world who is suspects all along and keeps trying to trap her, and she's been evading because of her larger than life personality, and nobody's just going to believe that a TV chef can't cook, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But there is somebody in the story who is not her and not this other person, who gets a negative consequence that they probably did not deserve.
Okay.
Oh, that's not.
But I'll just say it: the new producer,
sure,
who had banked everything on this, and she then was offered kind of a carrot, but the carrot wasn't very tasty. So we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
But I mean, yes, for Joy and for Luke, the consequences of hiding this, because he does come to figure it out later in the story. But yeah, there are consequences, definitely.
Yep.
Okay.
Carry on, Beth.
So I looked it up and I was wrong originally. Lee Tobin McLean's Low Country series is South Carolina. Low Country Hero, so is the first book. It's not Christian, but it's sweet, and those are fun. They were not the books that I had intended to talk about, but I wanted to correct myself, number one, and I'm always happy to plug these books because I always enjoy them. And her sweet books, we've talked about how she gets faith in there. Even if they're not faith books, there's faith in there. So my next one was actually going to be a series. Laurie Larsen's Matchmaking Moms of Ocean View. And I've talked about them before. I am not as prepared as Narelle. I did not look up which episodes I talked about them in.
Nobody's as prepared as Narelle.
Well, yeah, you don't have my notes file. All I have to do is put the author's last name and just look for the highlight as I scan down my notes. So I have the cheat system, or I could go into the social media program I use and search where we send.
Yeah, well, see, these are areas where some of us might not be as organized.
Yeah, I don't keep my notes. So, but I love this whole series. It starts off with the Meet the Moms book, which is probably not a romance because it's sort of like an intro. It's almost like a long prequel or a long prologue. Yeah, but it's a fun setup, and you meet these moms who are at a women's function at church. They're all kind of new and floundering, and they all have adult children who they want to set up with someone. And they're encouraged as part of the women's function to, find a project that they can all work together on. And they decide that this is what they're going to do, is they're going to all find spouses for their adult children. And so then each book in the series is a different child. And what I liked especially is that they didn't try to match them up with each other necessarily. They found other people
And that the mom wasn't responsible for her own kid.
Yes, and
Yeah.
mom didn't have to go find for her own kids. She told the other, is it two? The other two moms.
Yeah. Three
Um,
times. Yeah.
you know, here are the key points kind of thing, and then they would coordinate and find a victim together.
Victim. Did I hear you say victim?
Victim, sorry. But they're all cute little stories.
They are.
And just cute. Cute little matchmaking moms. So, and not
And
huge.
in South Carolina.
Yeah, in South Carolina, not huge faith elements, but there, but not massively huge. Not what I'd call light either. It's more than like they pray for their food, kind of, you know, it's and probably it could have been in any kind of coastal area. It doesn't have to be South Carolina, but it is, so it counts.
Yes.
All right, we probably could squeeze in your third ones if you wanted, if you talk
If it-
fast.
Narelle, talk
Yes, I
fast.
can do that.
Okay.
Oh, it's me. Okay. My third one is Under the Magnolias by T.I. Lowe. Now, this is not strictly CCR. It's 1980s to present day. And there's romantic elements, but the romance probably isn't front and center because it's more coming of age. But it is very South Carolina and very Southern in terms of the setting. And I did talk about it in the mental illness episode, which is probably less than 20 in number. It's in the teens, I think. One of our first
You didn't look it up?
Well, no, because I didn't have anything under 20 in my file. And he started keeping it from episode 20. Yeah, so I couldn't find it, but I think it's in the teens. If you go right back to the beginning, which would probably be early 2021.
I want to say it
Wow.
was February or March of that first year. Yeah. It's a low number.
Yep. So check out the mental illness episode if you'd like more information on this book, but it's very Southern and very South Carolina.
Excellent. Valerie, you had a fast third too, didn't you?
My fast third is a Laurie Larsen. Sanctuary.
Laurie's
Is
books
in
are
the-
all in South Carolina. Yeah.
And we've all read them and we all love them.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Myrtle's Inlet Miracles, book 1. Nora is an attorney, a partner in a law firm in Philly. She has just come off of a horrendous time at work when she finds out she's inherited her aunt's 10-acre seaside haven, I guess, in South Carolina. And she just plans to just like go for a quick break, clean things up a bit and sell it. But of course she can't do that because where would the story be then? Because lawyers who are partners don't have time for romance. Just want you to know. There's a black stallion that keeps appearing on the estate, which leads her to meet her neighbor, the veterinarian Shaw, and then maybe returning to Philly isn't in the cards after all. I liked it because it's South Carolina. I liked it because it's beach, and I liked it because of the older characters, and Shaw was just a really cool hero.
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
big stuff, as there often is in older characters. It's not just a simple matter of, oh, I love you, you love me too. Oh, good, let's go get married. There's big stuff in their pasts that they need to dig through. So that was it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we would love to know what you think. Have you read any of these? Any South Carolina books that we missed? That just scream South Carolina, and that's why we missed them. Leave us a comment on the YouTube page or on our Facebook page. It's probably not called the YouTube page, a YouTube channel. And we are glad that you were here with us, and we will look forward to seeing you again next week. So if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, notification bell, never miss an episode. And in the meantime, between now and next week, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.